In today's video, we're going to talk about something which is essential to life, whether you're in a survival situation or not, but is especially important to take into consideration when you are planning for emergencies. We're going to talk about water. We're going to talk about a couple of different ways to store it, how to store it, what you need to get to store it, and where to get it. That's what's coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose, your home for trustworthy information and gear reviews related to camping, survival, and general preparedness for regular folks. My name is Brian. Thanks for joining me. So as I said, today we're going to talk about water, specifically a couple of different ways to store water for an emergency for your family. You know, the experts recommend 1 gallon per day per person for drinking and culinary use and, you know, hygiene and different things. So if you got several people in your family, it could take a lot of water. And one possible way to help ensure that you've got enough water is to store some up for emergencies. I always think you should have a good filter system and a good filter anyway, but it's hard to beat just being able to go down to your basement or your garage and get some water when you need it. So we're going to talk about storing water and talk about these two different options I've got here today that are two very popular options. And we'll talk about pros and cons and prices and where to find this stuff. And we're going to do that in just a second. But speaking of storage, this video is sponsored by the folks at Acre Gold. And the folks at Acre Gold have come up with a way for regular folks like you and me to store up one of the most ancient known forms of wealth. And I'm talking about gold. And the way they do that is they make it very easy by having a gold subscription service. So for $50 a month or even $30 a month, you can open up an account with Acre Gold and put your money in there every month. And when it gets to the point where you have enough money in there to purchase a 2.5 gram bar of gold, they will send you this bar of gold. And this is, you know, it's pure, it's 24 karat gold basically. And what I think is cool about this is that it makes it really, really easy for you and I to buy this. And a couple things I like about Acre Gold. First of all, I like the 2.5 gram size because an ounce of gold is right now about 1,860 bucks, I think. Let's see, yeah, 1,860 bucks as of today. So if you're storing gold for barter or you think everything's going to go crazy, you might need to actually spend it. It's going to be really hard to break that, you know, unless you want to just carry around a pair of snips and a scale with you and everybody's on the same page. But 2.5 grams is about 180 bucks everywhere I looked online right now. So that's a little more realistic as far as a currency that you can carry around with you. Now, to be completely transparent and honest, this is not the cheapest way to buy gold. You can certainly buy gold if you buy it by the ounce and you buy it by volume, you're going to get it cheaper. That's just the way things work. But it's the most convenient way to buy gold because it's the only place I know of where you can pay 50 bucks a month and accrue yourself some gold. And then when you get it, it's not going to be in a electronic account somewhere. It'll be delivered to you discreetly to your mailbox, and you can have it in your hot little hands. So I'm a member at the $50 a month level because I think it's cool. Certainly, like I said, I could probably buy gold cheaper if I wanted to had thousands of dollars to spend, but I don't. So I think this is a good way to come up with some gold. So anyway, the folks at Acre Gold were kind enough to sponsor this video. And so not only, what is it they said on the hair club commercials? Not only are they a sponsor, but I'm a customer, something like that. Anyway, thanks again to the folks at Acre Gold. If you're looking for some a really good way to get some gold in your hands, that's a pretty painless way to do it. So back to the water. Let's talk about water. So I said we're going to talk about water storage. Again, we've got the two choices we're going to talk about today, and there are other choices, but they're all pretty much the same. They're either big containers or small containers. And we've got a 6-gallon container here, and we've got a 55-gallon container here. Now, a couple things these have in common. They're both brand new, created for water storage. So this wasn't some surplus thing. This wasn't something that was repurposed from something else or recycled. These were both brand new when I bought them. This one, and they're both also BPA free, which I think is important. So I know you can buy pickle barrels and stuff like that, but man, I don't like pickles, and I certainly don't want to be drinking pickle tasting water for the rest for any length of time whatsoever. So anyway, we got that. So and again, they both serve the same purpose. They just store water. And I think there's pros and cons to both of them. I don't think one's necessarily better than the other. I just want to kind of tell you what my opinion is on the pros and cons to maybe help you make a decision. So first, let's talk about the 6-gallon one. Right now, at the time I'm making this video, I checked on the old internet, and about $13.50 is what a 6-gallon plastic container costs you. So if you do that times 9, that's 54 gallons, pretty close. That's going to be 121 bucks. And so to get 55 gallons of water, it's going to cost you about 120 bucks, say, okay? The pros of this one, I think, are they're going to be lighter, and it's going to be this is going to weigh around 52 to 53 pounds when it's full. So it's going to be more portable. If you need to grab a few of these and hit the road, you can, and you'll have some water with you. This one, not so much, and we'll talk about the weight on that one in a minute. This one is pretty much self-sufficient, as we would call it. You got a spout that goes in it. It screws on here, and you can pour water out very, very easily, not a problem. And then it's got a little gasket here that just goes down in there. You put your little plug in there, and you put your top on it, and you're good to go. So those are, in my opinion, those are advantages to this one over this one. They're portable, and it's easier to move around and store. I guess really the only disadvantage I can think of, other than they're a little bit more money, and if you start getting, you know, every 50 gallons you go, it's going to cost you another 10 bucks if you do that. They're also going to take up more room, I think, floor space, because they're not really recommended to lay like this. They're designed to stand up on their end. So you can build shelves and stack them up. Certainly you can do that. But they're going to it's going to just take up more room for the same amount of water, because you're going to have more storage as a percentage, more storage material as a percentage of the water, you know. So your mileage may vary on that. Certainly not a bad choice. I'm not at all saying this is a bad choice, because I've got quite a few of these, and so I just bought this one. I decided to try to, you know, try these out and see if I like them as well. I like these pretty well. So there's that. The other only slight disadvantage I would say is if you do want to treat your water regularly, and you need to, and we'll talk about that, it's a lot easier to open, you know, one bung here, one lid, and, you know, put your treatment in, than it is to try to go through and open 9 for the same amount of water. But that's not a huge deal, right? Because it's just a little bit more hassle. So there's that. And the other pro I would say is, you know, if you do need to, you can rotate these or whatever a little easier, and they're easier if you use them to fill them back up. And again, there's that. So now let's talk about the, I think that's everything about this. Let's talk about the 55-gallon drum, the pros and cons. So for me, the biggest pro is, I guess, they just store a little better. If you're going to keep this in your house, you're not planning on moving, it's going to be for use, then it's pretty, you know, solid. You can sit at one place and you're done. So for volume, you're going to take up less floor space. I don't think it's really good to stack them. You could probably make racks, but, you know, in this much floor space, you can get 110 gallons, and you could definitely put a board on top of them and stack stuff on top of them if you just got these for emergency. So you can make a shelf out of them almost, or a table or whatever. So there's that. And then the other advantage is a slight advantage on cost. However, that brings me to the second topic we're going to talk about today. We talked about pros and cons. So same material, pretty much, polypropylene, or HDPE, I think is what it's called. Both store water, both clean, both BPA free. The biggest difference is obviously size and weight. And I'll tell you, the weight of this one, by the way, full of water, is going to be about 480 pounds. The barrel weighs 23 pounds. The water weighs about 458 pounds. Water weighs 8.33 pounds per gallon, if you're wondering. So there's that. The other thing about these is it could be a negative, really, because you got to spend a little more money up front. You're going to need a wrench to, you know, these are called bungs. The plugs are in here. You're going to need something to, I guess you could use a pair of channel locks sideways, but it's a lot easier just to buy. I think I paid like $9 for this, or for this wrench. So did I pay $9 for it? Yeah, I paid $9 for this, and so it's also got a gas key wrench on it and a couple other little things. Nothing fancy, but just a plastic wrench. And you're going to need some way to pump this out of here. I paid $33 for this, and it's a 5.5 gallon per minute pump. It's all plastic, so honestly, I think probably this is the way I was going to go for long term, and was going to get 4 or 5 of these. And these things, by the way, are 110 bucks. I think I told you that, 110 bucks versus 120 for the same volume of water in here. I get a better pump than this. I get something brass. And it's probably fine. It's plastic, but it's not going to rust or anything. But, you know, I don't know. it's not as robust as maybe you would want for really, really long term, but that's what I got. So I'm going to show you that in just a minute. So anyway, that's the barrels or the containers. That's the stuff you need with the pump, which is with the barrel, which is a pump and a bung wrench. One other thing you're going to need, no matter what type of storage system you choose, you're going to need some way to preserve this water, keep it disinfected, to make sure that it doesn't get stagnated or slimy and all that, you know, get nasty where you won't want to drink it. So here's where maybe I got taken. You can tell me, because I didn't do enough research, I don't think. You know, when you buy stuff on Amazon and it comes up with that little thing at the bottom, the customers also bought this. Well, they came up with this water preserver concentrate that is, this little bottle of water is designed, and not water, this little bottle of water preserver, as they're calling it, is intended to treat 55 gallons of water. So one of these goes with one of these, right? And it's supposed to help it stay safe for 5 years. Now, what I'm not sure about is why I might have gotten taken is this is sodium hypochlorite 5.25%. Guess what else is sodium hypochlorite 5.25% or 5%? Clorox bleach, regular old bleach. So this is 0.73 fluid ounces for 13 bucks. So that's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15 bucks for an ounce. Maybe I just paid 15 bucks an ounce for bleach, which I could have bought for a buck a gallon at the Dollar General. I don't know, but they did say that this one is made in the USA, which is good, recognized and licensed by the U.S. and state EPAs. I just don't know if the if bleach could say the same thing, could make the same claims. So either way, you're going to need to preserve your water. So you're smart enough to do your own research on that and determine if bleach is good enough. Probably, if I had to guess, I'd say it is. But you know, they saw me coming. So anyway, let's talk about this pump real quick before we get to using it. Actually, let me just I'm gonna sit this down on the ground. I'm gonna readjust you. We're gonna show you how this thing works. Well, works on the water. So let's do that now. Chuck Norris makes onions cry. Okay, so first let's talk about the bungs, because I like that word, bung. So they have, this barrel has two different bungs. One has a coarse thread bung, which is over here, and they both have little gaskets on them. And then you can see some water on here. I filled this thing up with a little bit of water to test this pump. You can tighten that one down. And then over here, it has a fine thread bung, which I think is the one you're going to want to use for the pump. So it's just got different threads on it. Threads inside here, and these threads so different. And they both have, again, gaskets. So this pump now, the pump is rated as a heavy-duty, high-speed manual sump pump. Drains up to 1 pint for every 3 strokes, and you stroke it up and down to pump it like that, all right? And then it's 5.5 gallon per minute rated. And let's see, talk about the specs. The length of this tube is 34 inches. So the height of this drum is 35 inches. So that should give you about an inch off the bottom. It's got a little bit of a cut in it. So then the it's 3/4 diameter inlet, and the discharge tube is 47 inches. And then has a 2-inch bung adapter here, so it should screw in right here. So let's just do that. We'll put it in right there. We'll screw it in. And this one says it is made in Korea. So I'm assuming that's South Korea, but so not China. So I'm going to take my old number 5 wash tub here, set it right here. I can set this water jug right here. Maybe you can sort of see it. You see the top of that? And then we're going to see how long it takes it to pump up 6 gallons of water. So, and let me just see if we get started. So right now, let's get started. I'll put on the screen how long it took when I do the editing, because you're not gonna be able to see it now. It's like milking a cow upside down. I mean, that's putting a pretty good bit of water out there. Yeah, I would say probably invest in a crank pump. That would probably be a lot more efficient and useful. It says 5.5 gallons a minute, but I think it's not. I don't think I'm making it in a minute. But we'll see. Golly. It's getting there. All right, it's full. So we'll mark that time there. Okay, so that is how it works. So, well, I guess this is talking about takeaways from this video. The biggest one I would say is maybe I got ripped off on the bleach. So do your own research on that. But bottom line, just make sure that whatever method you decide to use to prepare for water for your family, and everybody stocks up on food. I got it. I'm stocking up on food. Everybody stocks up on toilet paper or whatever. But people just seem to assume they're going to go over to the faucet and open that thing up and water's going to come pouring out. And I don't think that's a reasonable assumption in a time of emergency. If you ever lived through a time when you couldn't get water out the faucet, you know what I mean. Gosh, I bet about 10 years ago, where I live here outside Atlanta, it's like not floodplains, it's not a hurricane zone or anything, but we had a pretty bad flooding that overwhelmed the water treatment in our area, and we had no water for about 3 or 4 or 5 days. So no water coming out of the faucet. So just be aware of that and be prepared for that. And hopefully this video has been a little bit helpful. Again, you can get the six gallon or the drum. I think there's things called water cubes, which are like 1 or 2 gallons. They're really easy. They do stack really well. You're gonna pay more for the storage if you do that, I think. So either way, the bottom line is, as always, remember, be prepared. So hopefully this has been helpful. Again, my name is Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival is not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.